Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tameless podcast. Today we have a special guest, Rachel, here with me,
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Rachel Herndorf.
and the best realtor in Ottawa.
Oh, you're
I
so
gotta give you
sweet.
that.
You're so kind. I appreciate that.
All right, so we're gonna talk about. I'm just gonna give a brief. We're gonna talk about first-time home buyers. How's the market here in Ottawa? What got you into realtor, like being a realtor? And all the fun stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit about investing in real estate.
Absolutely,
because that's a topic that brought up from a couple of people that were like, you have to ask her about that. All right, so I'll leave the floor to you. So give us a little bit about yourself.
So I was actually born in BC. I'm a military brat. My mom was a teacher, my dad's military, and I grew up and we had to go through the school system, and so I was not familiar with being an entrepreneur or real estate or anything like that, but I grew up loving like all the home shows and like I would hoard the IKEA catalogs.
Where in BC?
Like in Victoria.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
That's
gorgeous out
place.
there.
How long did you live there for?
I was just 2, but then we also moved out to Colorado. So I lived in Colorado for 5 years. So I grew up snowboarding and skiing and all of that. Yeah.
I'm just learning this today.
Yeah, I know. I moved around a fair share because of my dad's military background, but
Okay.
Ottawa's always been home. So I lived in Ottawa from like the time I was like 2 to the time I was 10, and then from 15 to my current age. So
Okay.
I've been in Ottawa a long time,
so
but
you
I've
know
also
Ottawa
seen the
well.
other side. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. And when did you live in the States? When you were younger than
When
that?
I was 10 to when I was 15.
Okay, that's a big chunk.
Yeah, it was a good amount growing up over in the States. So, but in Colorado, it's beautiful. It's so
Oh my
sunny.
God, I've never been. I need to visit.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous. There's like red rocks, like there's Garden of the Gods, like the skiing's incredible. Like it's just such a happy place for
So
sure.
what would you say comparing schools here to schools in the States?
Heavy on the religion side of things in the States. People are very rooted in their church, so it was quite interesting. Yeah, it was very eye-opening to move back to Canadian culture. Was quite a shock, but adapted well and learned and pivoted, and I had friends from before, so it was a smoother transition in that regard.
That's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. All right, so tell us about the journey. You finished high school. What got you into what got you into real estate?
So my aunt was the co-op director at Laurier University, and she told me that I needed to get an office job. So I decided to go and get an office job at the Remax affiliates office out in Canada. And it was great because I could do my homework for university while I was in the office. And I met a bunch of like phenomenal agents, and they were like in and out. And I was always like, I'm just like a naturally very curious person. So I would like learn about their clients and the deals, and like I would take the deposits. And so I'd meet the clients, and it was quite a different experience just seeing their daily lives looked just so different than like the average like government worker or like someone who had an office job. And I was like, oh, this is
So the office job was in real estate.
Okay,
that's a good exposure on the back end. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is cool. And I was like, they make a lot of money. Like I had no idea. And I was like, oh, this is great. And my aunt was like, you are so good, like you need to have like a social job because you're such a social person. And
True.
Also I'm chatty Cathy, and so my mom was like, you have to get a university degree and diploma. So I went and I got a communications degree, and it was a joint program doing public relations at Algonquin. So it really it pairs well for like media and marketing and how to talk to people and how to reach out and connect. And anyways, so I went to school, and then one day I was like, oh, I want to go work for a builder. So I went and dropped off my resume, and I still remember I walked up and this is funny because I was on the phone with that girlfriend of mine today, and I remember I really wanted to work for this new builder. It was Glenview Homes out in Canada when they were like launching their new site, and no one there hadn't been a new player to the game in a really long time. And I went and I dropped off my resume, and my boyfriend at the time had lived around the corner. I was like, I really want this site. Like, they're new, they're exciting. And anyways, like, I called him and I was like, there's not a chance that I'm getting hired here. This girl had a resting bitch face. Sure enough, she called her sister, who was married to the CEO, and they hired me right away. And then
so you got from your first interview, you got this job.
Yeah. So from
One
like
out
the
of one.
door knocking 101, I ended up with the job, and I worked there for about a year, and then I worked for a commercial real estate firm called Cushman and Wakefield for about 3 years doing the research, marketing, and admin. So I did all the paperwork from the commercial side, so that was really cool too. Okay. And then I did while I was working there, I started working on my real estate license, and I still remember one of the appraisers was like, Rachel,
so your eyes were to become a
real estate agent.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the guys sat me down and he's like, I think you'd make a killer commercial agent, but he's like, I think you'd even do better at residential. And I still like remember that conversation. That was probably like 10 years ago now. And then so when I was continuing to work for my license, I went back and I worked for Kaivan Communities, which was the same ownership, or slightly separate anyways, but to Glenview Homes. So I was working with the people in new home construction again right before I got my license. So
okay.
It's always been in real estate.
Exposure.
Yeah. It was like all the stepping stones, because my mom was like, who's going to trust someone without a like job or work experience, and without like they made sure I had a safety net of money, so I wasn't doing things for the wrong reasons, and they made sure that I had the education and the work experience so I could fall back if I was going to fall. But I did like 43 transactions my first year, which most agents do about 5, just for context. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was good at the time, which was quite funny.
That's so true. That is very impressive. Now, when did that, is it because of your first job that you felt like you're gonna go into being a real estate agent?
I think it's funny, I just did a deal with one of the agents who I was like, if she can do it, I can do it type of thing. And I just was like, I just had the exposure and I'd never thought about it. And I was like, that's the only thing I want to do after I'd like watched all the shows and saw it like live in person. And then I was like sitting in the new construction office and I'm like, okay, this is the same office, the same experience day in and day out, but I don't get the exposure and I can only sell this one product. I felt so constricted.
Okay.
And so anyways, it was like such a natural progression to be able to now I get to help all my friends and incredible clients.
And
like
you're doing a killing work on it.
Thank you.
Now we have to tap in on how we met.
So, do you want to start or do you want me to?
I want to hear your side, and I'll tap in when needed.
So, I think it was year 3. I had a business partner, and she was like, "Can you go show this?" Like, she has kids, and I didn't, so I have a little bit of like a more time.
On a weekend?
Here, maybe.
Yeah.
I have no. Was it a weekend?
Yeah, it has to be a weekend.
Okay.
Other than that, it would be hard for me to.
Yeah, it must have been like a Saturday morning or something like that. And we go and we're showing a condo, and I'm like, this is a terrible condo. Like, it's on a low floor. It's in a crappy part of the city. Like, okay, like, let's go see who wants to see this. Anyways, so
I need to add to that. So, how basically my friend called me about a condo that we saw online, and he reached out to your friend.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't come, and then you came to the building, and I remember when we walked in, you showed us the apartment. We walked in, and then you're like, by the way, like this and this and this are like the good things that I see, and this and this and this are the bad things that I see. And I don't think if you're looking for a rental, this is not the right property. And I was like, oh my God, she's really honest. You know, and after that, I was like, okay, I like how you are so transparent and you put yourself in the person's shoes and you see it from his angle and you kind of take the time to understand what he's looking for and give the feedback 100% with honesty.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, it was, you were looking for an like a condo to rent for
Short-term
Airbnb,
rental, yeah.
and there's such strong restrictions. There's only 2 buildings that allow short-term rentals, and I don't even know that. I actually should probably research this, but I don't even know that they allow them anymore. It's only if it's a principal residence.
Yes, there's a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, so there's only there's one, I can't think of the name of the building. I can see it in my head.
Yeah,
and there's one on Somerset, and then there's the one that's next to the Alt Hotel that allows it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was on Slater. 199 Slater, I think, is the one. Yeah, there we go. That allowed it, but
and you pointed things that really made the decision easier, and we moved on to making a lot of deals.
Yeah.
And you helped me.
Thank you very much for your loyalty.
For sure. No, thank you for always over delivering. For
thank
sure.
You.
So tell me, you started working as a realtor. What would you say like the main challenges in the beginning that you faced?
I was doing everything to bring in clients and service clients and working ridiculous hours, and I think it's, you don't know what you don't know, so it's like you're trying to do so many things where you don't have the resources to outsource because you're still in the building phase. Whereas now I see time so differently, so I'm like, okay, do I have that energy available to take care of that? Because if I can take care of it myself, I'll take care of it myself, but if I don't, then I outsource. And then it's just learning time management, and then also who to trust and who not to trust, and what to take on and what not to take on. Because I think, like, if I look back at what I had in my hands, like, I would have treated it so differently, and I think I would have grown it differently had I looked back. But I'm happy with, like, I'm where I am now. For sure.
But you never learn until you have to make the mistakes for you to learn.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like time management is always key. It's something that you're really good at, you know, and for someone looking into like real estate and purchases and stuff, it's very important that, you know, you show up at time because other people have other responsibilities.
It's communication is like all about respect, and it's like the speed at which you respond signals how much you respect someone.
True.
Is like how I look at it. So I'll always try, but then I also, now with more experience, I also look at, I think of things in scenarios more with grace, and I'm like, okay, I know that this person's busy, or that they have XYZ on their plate, so I don't take things as personally as I maybe once had when I was younger. And you just know it's business, and if they're not responding, then they're not interested, and you move on. And like, sometimes you just have to keep knocking, or until they're ready, or they will respond when they're interested. Is kind of I also like run by a philosophy where I'm like, I'm not going to, if you want me to keep like harassing you and engaging, then I will do it till I'm dead. But if you don't want me to engage, I don't want to engage with you, because I'm like, come to me, because I'm very much like, I don't like to be bothered unless it's like there's reason for it, like, because energy is so limited.
True.
Or like it's exponential, but it's also like you can only take on so much. So
that's true. That's
picking
true.
and choosing.
So what do you think of the Ottawa market now versus a couple of years ago? Just like briefly on comparison. Where do you think the Ottawa market's going when it comes to real estate, of course? I
think the Ottawa market is going to always be, the owner of my brokerage says it best. He's like, it's like a Cadillac that's just like cruising. We'll probably have like modest growth. It depends what you're buying. And I hate when people, or not hate, but like when people ask you as what's going on in the market, it's like, it's so dependent on your situation. It's dependent on what you're buying, what you're selling. Because if you're buying a central 3-story home in Hintonburg or a detached in the Glebe, you're going to see competition. If you're buying a run-of-the-mill pre-construction 3-story townhome in Barhaven, you may have many options, and it may be a softer market. Or if you're, so it depends on like the condition, it depends on the product type, it depends on how many properties are available, and like, so that it really depends. It depends on if what you're looking for is limited or if there's an abundance of it.
Okay.
Type of thing, and what the demand looks like.
Yeah, but in a general point of view, comparing Ottawa to other markets,
I think it's a safe market. I think it's pretty like we're more stagnant, so I would be more conservative on what you're spending when you're buying. You just have to be a bit more mindful, or you have to be mindful of holding property longer. Like, I think we're going to see modest growth, but I don't know like that we're going to see like 3 to 4% a year. I think it's maybe 1 to 2, if that, or it'll remain the same. But in certain pockets, it's hard with the demand.
It's been cold
below.
Too cold.
It really depends, but it totally depends on if you're buying it to buy and live, or if you're buying it as an investment property. Because I think the rental market will soften.
Yeah. Now it gets me to the main question I want to ask is that I want your feedback from a first-time home buyer. So someone's that is making a decent amount of income, let's put it within the range of, 80 to 90 to 100K a year, young, and they're excited. But, in school, they don't teach you how to buy your first property.
No.
You teach you algebra. I don't know when you're going to use that.
ChatGPT can teach you a lot, but they don't necessarily cover everything that you're going to need to buy a house. I was even talking to another agent, and I was like, what would be the 3 mistakes or whatever that first time home buyers? He's like, people need to just spend like a couple $100 on an Airbnb and go live in the, like, if you're going to move in an environment where you don't know and live and understand it, like, you have to go and immerse yourself, like, spend the money, like, do it as your due diligence. And I was like, that's such a smart idea.
That's true. Yeah, I've
told people to like go walk through the grocery store, like, see how you feel.
You're talking about buying your primary residence, your first home, and you want to.
It depends on if you're buying it in an area where you are familiar, or if you're buying it somewhere where you're not familiar. But it really depends on, are you handy? Are you someone who's going to try and become handy? Or are you wanting something that's completely turnkey? It depends on also like your standard of living. Everyone's standard of living is kind of different. And it, like, there's also different ways. I've seen people where it's like your friends pool money and buy, like, my therapist was telling me she and her friend, or one of her girlfriends, bought a house together, and then because they didn't have each of them didn't have a partner, and they both wanted to invest in real estate, and they did well, and they ended up selling it when they both had partners. But there's different ways to approach real estate. You can buy a duplex as a first time home, and you don't necessarily have to put the 20% down, because as a first-time home buyer, you have so many different options, or because you can use your RSPs, which are a tax deduction. You can put in $8,000 a year to your FHSA, I think is the one, the first home savings accounts, where that deduces your taxes
by $8,000 a year.
By 8,000, which that's pretty great. And then I think there's even then your TFSA you can also use towards your first home. But it depends on your skill set and also what you need as a first time home buyer.
Okay. So walk me through it. So let's say, like I said, working a great career, you have a couple of bucks saved up, a couple of 100,000, a couple of thousands saved up. What do I need to, how can I start the search? Like, what do I do? Okay, I know I want to live in this neighborhood, and I want to target, let's say, a house within the range of, for a townhouse, 2 to 3 bedroom in a nice neighborhood. What would you say the range will be in Ottawa?
I mean, if it depends on how far you're willing to go out, but anywhere from 480 all the way to 760 type
Okay.
of thing
Yeah, for a
townhome.
2 to 3 bedroom?
Bedroom townhome. Yeah,
Okay.
if you can, there's also things called like condo townhomes where they'll cover your roof and your water and your windows, and you pay a small condo fee, but you get a backyard, and then they take care of all, like you have, um, either you have, it's more rare to have garage parking, so it's usually surface parking.
Yeah.
But you have 3 bedrooms upstairs, usually 1.5 bathrooms. Sometimes there's a bathroom in the basement. Those are great because they're great rentals after, and they also can give you, because they're 3 bedrooms. Usually they give you more longevity, that you can stay there longer too, and they're at a more affordable, like you can get those in the, oh my goodness, I sold one even that you could fix up for like $290, and there was one that was fixed up around the corner selling in the 400s, but mine had to be someone who bought it with cash, so it was a certain situation. So it really depends on if you're handy and what is available in that pocket, but the first step would be to get pre-approved, so you know what you're working with, and get pre-approved with condo fees and have that range, and without condo fees, so you know your freehold budget and you know your condo budget. And then I like to go further out and then narrow back further in, unless you're set on a certain pocket, and then it depends on what is available and within your price point. But also, I would say, don't be afraid of partnering up with friends to purchase, or siblings. And also, look at things beyond just the finishes. Like, look at the location, look at the layout, look at, okay, does it have another entrance where you could make a basement unit? Does it have, like, how many bathrooms? Like, I just sold one where it didn't have a basement, it only had one full washroom, and that, because it only had one full washroom, it really took out quite a few buyers, because they're looking for one and a half or two full washrooms. Like, it would have sold for much more had we put a second washroom in the basement, type of thing.
So pre-construction versus ready to go.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is better for someone that's diving in new in the market?
I think it really dials back to how much money you have saved up, because if you like, with pre-construction, the entrance fee is higher, because sometimes you're paying for appliances, it depends on the builder. So then you're paying carry-on, which, let's call that like $1,500 to $2,000. Then you're paying your lawyer fees, then you're paying for blinds, you're paying for your furniture, you're paying for outdoor furniture, you're paying if you're buying a townhouse, then most of the time you're paying for eaves troughs, sometimes you're paying for your garage door opener. Like, it all, like, all the little things add up.
Yeah, true.
Whereas it also depends, like, if you have a pet or not, because if you have a dog, then pre-construction may not be the right place for you, because it takes a year for you to have for you to build a fence, like, to be able to build a fence, because the ground needs to settle.
True.
So
you find it a little bit more challenging. Plus, you have closing and occupancy time period where you have to be paying for something that you...
Well, if you're buying a condo. So it just depends on if you're buying when the condo is formed. So as you're talking about the interim occupancy, so you pay less usually in an interim occupancy than your mortgage, but then you end up paying, you're not paying your principal of your mortgage down in that interim occupancy fee, so you're not getting further ahead financially as quickly.
Okay.
So it's not as ideal in that scenario, but it depends. But I mean, like, the ready built, sometimes you're getting the fence yard, it depends on the age of the furnace and the windows and the AC and what is included in, like, what the new, like, you can get a new townhome for $499 in Stittsville right now, but the size and the livable space of that is not comfortable. I had another agent call and tell me, he was like, I have so many clients who bought these and they're so upset because they think they're buying one product and they're buying something else by the time it comes to delivery. So that's a scary reality. So it's just make sure you know what you're buying.
Okay.
A good trick for that is to go, sometimes there's rentals of the same product type in that community. So if you can have your agent go and show you those to see if it's maybe something that you actually would want to live in, because seeing it on a floor plan and seeing it in person are two very different things.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because space is so some people can live in a shoebox and some people need so much space, so it really depends.
And now, like, how much would you say for someone to enter the market after getting pre-approved? Would you have in reserved cash that you're seeing?
So you want to have money set aside. I mean, typically we want at least 1% of the purchase price set aside for closing, but if not more. Even
1% of the
purchase price.
Okay.
So if you're buying for $500,000, you want $5,000 set aside.
Okay.
If you're
closing.
Buying, yeah. Well, no, but you need more than that for closing. Yeah.
I never thought about it that way. Makes sense.
It's like there's just like extra, and you know what? It's funny because one of my home inspectors taught me that. He was like, if it's anything more than 1% of the purchase price, it shouldn't be a deterrent. Anything over 1% can be like a measure for negotiations. That way you're not nickel and diming and you're only negotiating the things that actually matter.
100% true.
And you should have, like, when you're buying a property, especially when you're buying a resale property, you should be able, if something breaks down, you should have the resources, or you should have a line of credit available, or you should have, I mean, ideally you have that money set aside.
Yeah, cushion just in case.
Yeah.
So that 1%, and then
so like a lawyer fee, you're going to be like, let's say high end $2,500. Okay. If you're paying Terry on, you're probably about another $1,500. It depends if you're paying for movers or not. From where you're currently living, because that's another couple thousand. So everyone's situation is different.
True.
And then you're probably going to be paying for an inspection. So depending on the size of the house, it can range from $500 to $1,000. Okay. Then you're paying, if you're buying a condo, there's status certificate review, and you have to pull the status certificate as well, which is, I think, they range now, but I think it's about $250 just to pull that status certificate. So there's all these like smaller costs. It depends.
That's within the 1% you were talking about, or
no, on top of it. So I would have 1% set aside for repairs or if something goes wrong, and then I would also have, because like even I just had a landlord contact me. His previous tenant had caused a flood, like, and this is a newer home. I mean, I think it's 5 years old, but. And luckily, when I have clients moving into places, in the lease we have that if there's any deficiency, that the tenant needs to let the landlord know right away, and then it gives the landlord the opportunity. But you also then have a marker for what, like, timeline. So it's like when something went right or when something happened, who had the liability for it, essentially. Okay. So, like, I knew because the tenant rep agent had done a final walkthrough with the tenant and mentioned that the toilet wasn't flushing properly and that something seemed off. And I told her, let the landlord know in writing. So I told her, like, so that we had a trail anyways, so that I knew when he called me and there was a leak, it was maybe a month in, it was likely a backup from the previous tenant, not the current tenant.
Okay, which saved him a lot of money on fixing?
Well, no, because I wasn't the one who leased it out in the first place. Luckily, he was in a position where he has the money, but I'm like, this from a liability standpoint, because I wasn't the one to initially write the lease, and because I know this, it looks to me like it was probably the past tenant, and you don't likely have recourse because you didn't catch it while they were living there.
True.
So the flooding damage wasn't bad by any means. So he just got a fan, and like he's gonna have to redo some baseboards and had the cost of the plumber, so he'll suck that up. But you need to have money set aside in the event, even on new construction. I had my whole ceiling ripped out. Luckily, it was under. I mean, the benefit of new construction is that things are then under warranty, but it's only for a short amount of time. So anything minor cosmetic is for a year. Anything for electrical and plumbing is 2 years, and then anything for a foundation is 7 years.
Okay.
So the bones are only needing to last for 2 years, really.
Yeah, makes sense. And when it comes to, so let's give an example of like a 500,000 townhouse in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
What would you have? Because people think that they just bring their 5% and let's go.
Uh-huh.
So kind of give me a rundown. Let's say I want to close on a 500,000. That's a reasonable price townhouse, 2-bedroom, let's say.
Yeah.
What would be, first question is, what would be your 2 to 3 areas that you would say a good first-time home buyer, someone that's young and wants to get into real estate, should aim for?
Areas in the city?
Yeah.
I really like, there's a pocket based off, I mean, it depends, but there's a pocket on Baseline and Green Bank that have these older homes that are what we call parcels of tied land. So they have, I think it's like 270, I have a weird memory for numbers, but I think they're about like 270 to 290, and sometimes I mean, it depends. I saw one just sell for 572, but that one was backing on a nice pond. But they have really nice living space. You get a basement, you get 3 bedrooms up, and you get like one to 2 bathrooms usually, but the bedroom sizes, because they're older construction, are really nice. And then you get a nice little like backyard terrace, and then you're so close to transit. So I find those are really good for first time home buyers. I like the 3-story townhomes, especially like West End, or like I would go either Canada or I would go to Orleans. Like they rent really well, and they last well. If you have a roof, like they don't cost too much to replace since they're smaller. They appreciate well, and I find I love them especially like I love them as first time homes, but I also love them because I'm like, you don't have too much grass to mow. You do have a garage. You sometimes have a den on the main floor, which makes it even better. And then you have 2 to 3 bedrooms upstairs, and you have like a little bit of grass, but not a ton, and you're still in a community. And I find those ones are awesome. But the nice thing about those is, as an investment, they attract young couples because there's more stairs. So it's not so many downsizers unless they're in really good shape. So it's either good for first time home buyers or families. But also because they're smaller, they cause turnover, which means that your tenant isn't necessarily going to stay there quite as long. So that when the market increases in rent, you also
that's a good point. So these are good 2 areas. Now let's talk about that 500,000. How much would I need roughly after getting pre-approved? Of course, that's a whole different story. And total. So you said the rule of 1%.
Mm-hmm. So I would have 1% set aside, but then I would have, so like let's math it out here, just for, because you need basically, so at 500,000 at point, you need $25,000 just for the down payment at 5%. That doesn't include the CMHC, which gets tacked onto your monthly payment. Essentially, which is your insurance, but you
paying less than 20%.
Because you're paying less than 20%. But you have to qualify, so you have to have a credit score usually above 680.
Okay.
And it has to be approved. So the guidelines are more stringent. I wouldn't, it depends on the type of property you're buying. But anyways, 25% or $25,000 would be 5%.
Yeah.
And then let's say you want 700. I always like to put more money to be on the safe side. So let's say $700 for an inspection. You want, let's say you're buying new construction and there's Terry on, so that's $1,500. You're gonna say $2,000 for your lawyer fees, and let's say you're gonna pay movers $1,800. So you need $6,000.
Even put the movers in it. So
well, perfect. Like we're just like
talking in and out. I like
we
it.
Gotta make sure that
we cover all the bases.
And then I'm like, but there's one of the things that my stepdad taught me that was so valuable was like, when you're buying a first home, like there's so many, when you're moving out for the first time, there's so many like little things. Like you don't think about your bathroom garbage and your shower curtains and your like your knives
and
or
your garbage
like
bins and
like everything adds up. So he's like, I was at Canadian Tire almost every day when I first started like living. Yeah. So you want to have probably
so what was
like
that total?
So that plus like, let's say you need 35,000, if not like minimum. Yeah, I would say like you probably want 40 grand just to be on the safe side.
5,000 just in case on the other side.
Yeah.
And would 500,000 get you a 2 to 3 townhouse in Ottawa?
Yeah, like I mean in like Ottawa, like the suburbs and stuff like that. But absolutely.
Yeah.
Not so much like if you want a nicer, older 2 to 3 bedroom townhome in like Hintonburg or something like that, you're gonna pay like $750 to like $850 type of thing.
No, we're talking and they're just getting
but like you can also get them in like Carlington. There's some really great starter homes there that are like older. Some of them have like a patio or they have a front yard. And they're great, and you're central, and that area is like gentrifying a little bit more. You're still pretty close, but like if you have 2 incomes, I would be buying a bungalow, because I think bungalows are going to hold the value with all the baby boomers, because the baby boomers, most of them have a lot of money, right?
Yeah, true.
And they have the bigger lot sizes, and you have the capacity to duplex. So I would be buying one of those and buying like, you can be so creative. You can rent out rooms. You can also, there's so many different ways.
So
like
you would say for a first time home buyer to jump into a bungalow?
Yeah. So like I had clients that were looking and they were debating between a Hintonburg condo, and like location was really important to them. They had a pretty healthy budget, and we ended up, this was in the middle of COVID. So we ended up with a bungalow in Queensway Terrace North. Life fast forwards, they have a baby. They end up living out in Australia. Now they have a house that they can, like, she's rented it out to her brother for a little bit. Now we're ending up, they'll probably watch this. And anyways, but now we're looking, but I still remember the conversation. It's like, we're buying in the peak. So like you can be stuck. And I was looking at them. I'm like, they're probably going to be the type of people to have kids. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them stuck. And you're going to be stuck if you're in a condo.
You really do have an eye for details. Like when we wanted to buy that townhouse, and you're like, Joey, you got to take it facing east so the sun. And I'm like, I love it. Whatever, Rachel. I just let's go. You got to face east.
So sweet. But like now they're in a spot where it's like, if they're stuck and they're going to lose too much, they can make an addition. True. And then that's going to hold the value in that pocket, because the LRT has since come to that pocket.
Oh,
and
perfect.
It's a nice street. Like it's comfortable. You could add a coach house because the lot's big enough. You could add a second story. You could expand out back, or you can rent it out, or you take a loss, but then maybe you win on the move, like because you're not paying what you would have paid in COVID for that same house. So True. It really is circumstantial, but I think that house gave them flexibility, and I think that was really important in that situation, and they were okay to hold it for 10 years. And so we just had a strategy call like last week, and it's like, okay, well, it's going to depend. We're going to rent it out again, and you're going to get more money in rent this time around than renting it to a sibling. But nothing wrong to renting to a sibling. But
but it was in overall, it was a good investment on their first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and my cousin is stuck in the GTA with his wife because they bought in COVID, and they have a baby and a dog and a 1 bed plus den condo, and you're stuck. Like, you're gonna lose so much money. Like, I bought in COVID, and I know that I would lose a lot of money. Like, I've had people through my house and like verbal offers and things like that, but I would lose a lot of money. But I don't need to sell, and that's like a really beautiful thing.
That is very important. Yeah, when you don't need to sell and you ride the wave. Because eventually all real estate ends up being a good investment. Yeah.
Well, and also it's like you have to look at immigration, right? Because you have to look at how many homes that new home builders can build to keep up with the immigration. And they can only build about 200,000 homes per year. And it's just like immigration isn't there now, but it was at 400,000. So we were lagging behind. So there was constantly a delta. So the demand remained. So,
and the inflation as well, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Both these two factors. All right, so what would you say the biggest 3 mistakes first-time home buyers do?
They don't.
We gotta name 3.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one, and this actually, so I had a call.
You got excited with that question. You're like, oh my god, let me spill the beans. I got those all.
Well, so I was like, people either are one of two things. They go balls to the wall, and they spend way too much money, and they just want the pretty thing, and they're short-sighted, and they're willing to blow the budget to get like something that's aesthetically pleasing. Or they're so nervous and so conservative that they're not willing. Like they just keep going. I see this, I think actually even in all buyers, is like some people are just so conservative, but they don't realize that it's like if you spend a little bit more money, you're going to get a house that maybe it has new windows, maybe it has a new roof, maybe it's like it's going to cause you less headaches in the long run if you just spend like maybe let's say $25,000 more. So it really like it depends. So I would say not being short-sighted, it's hard because like I do really respect people who stick to their guns and are like, Rachel, this is my limit, like, because there's often reason for the people when they are extremely limited. So completely understand, but sometimes you need to be a little bit more creative or think outside the box,
which would make sense in the long run.
Yeah,
you would save on maintenance that will cause way more headache, take from your work time,
Well, and that's like it's looking at it from like a holistic standpoint that I think is so important. It's like my boyfriend, for example, is like a first-time home buyer, and we were ready, set to like go and purchase this home, and then I was like, okay, I'm like, are you sure you're okay with the distance? And he's like, yeah, like I drive all the time, like XYZ. And then I correlated it back to being time, and then breaking it down to how his days would look. And then he's like, I can't do that. That's not okay. Like, I'm going to lose out with time with my kids. I'm going to lose out with time with you. Like, that just doesn't work. And so your value shifts. So it's really like looking at it and being like, what is the goal? Like, is the goal to live in this beautiful home, but what's the benefit of living there if you're not going to be home to enjoy it?
Yeah, that's true. That was an eye-opener when I moved to Ottawa. I was looking at the ranking of the school, and I realized that one of the best schools were in Findlay Creek. Now, I'm very keen on having my kids in a really good school. So I was like, okay, then we're going to rent in Findlay Creek. And then Ina was like, my wife, she was like, you know how far Findlay Creek is from downtown office? I was like, 40 minutes, that's fine, I'll drive it. I'm used to it in Toronto. It's like, you're going to go 40 minutes, come back 40 minutes. That's about an hour and a half to 2 hours that you would have been at home resting. So we're gonna get somewhere where it's 10 minutes away from the office because I know you're not gonna have that time, and it made sense.
Yeah.
But thank God, what do you think? Which one of those categories is me when we purchased this house?
You guys knew that you were settled in this area. Mm-hmm. So it was different in that regard. So it was just like it just was like a choice that just made sense. It's a nice community. You had tested it by renting it, which is like a really big thing. Yeah, so you knew, and you stuck to your guns. You knew you really wanted a double car garage. Yeah. And then you knew you wanted something turnkey. And I think what stood out for me was I knew how busy your life was. So I was like, having something that is turnkey, and then Eno's not going to be upset with you that something's breaking, like, so and you can just you could just like enjoy the space, and you can enjoy, and you also, I didn't know you quite as well as I know you now, but you're someone who locks and leaves, and you like to travel, and you like to pivot, and you're not always home, and it's like you want something that's safe, and there's enough people around, and it's just like, it just made sense.
True. You draw the perfect picture for that. Yeah. So you're saying stingy or basically being uptight on something that they can add value that's going to be beneficial in the wrong term. Yeah. What else would you say? 2 more things that can be a very big disaster for first-time home buyers.
Not getting help or like leaning on your resources enough. Like, get your agent involved as soon as humanly possible. Like, go and see all your options so you know you're making a decision from a point of knowing rather than like, I feel like you can really empower yourself if you go and see, because you're like, okay, yes, I like this, but your mind can change through the process. So I think it's good to start. And then another agent and I were chatting, and I was asking him the same question just because I wanted like another like opinion, and he was saying like, there's sometimes like the earlier you start, the faster you can overcome things. So like, if say you have an issue with like your credit score, it's something you can work on over like 6 to 8 months, and maybe you like you solve that problem by the time you address it before you've spent money on a home inspection and gone through conditions and wasted a seller's time and your time and the other, like the agent's time. So it's really leaning on, okay, what's your opinion on this? Is this, like, I just had a client walk away from 2 properties because like there was major issues, and it wasn't, one was an apparent, one was a basement foundation crack that you couldn't see. Luckily my home inspector has a moisture meter, and so he was able to catch it. And then the second one was, there was the chimney cap was leaking, so then the boards behind.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah, no, and I was like, he's testing and he can tell. So there was 80% moisture.
We need that for the beach house.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then so there was the moisture meter, and then there was so he was able to detect a foundation crack. The seller didn't even know that it existed. Oh wow! Like, they had done so much work to the house. I was like, okay, great, like. This is the one. The
inspection you said.
That came from the inspection.
You're always keen on. I know that.
I think it's always good to know what you're buying, because sometimes people like to hide things, and also it gives you more information about how, like, I find the inspection, like going through the house, I know because of my experience usually what the seller is like, and if it's someone who's trustworthy, like that beach house we just saw, like that one, like I wasn't so worried. Yeah, he was he was pretty trustworthy of a guy, but he got offers right away because he was trustworthy. But then we're laughing because this guy was manning his property a little bit too much. He was a little too close, and his agent had told him to make himself scarce for the showings, but he didn't want to do that. So anyways, it's like quite funny.
So you're pointing out getting, of course, the stingy part and getting the realtor involved, and that advice I learned the hard way. And even when I wanted to go with the pre-construction, the first thing when they showed me the map, I'm like, hold on, let me call Rachel. And my sister is going through the process right now in Calgary, and I gave her the same advice. I was like, don't go in without a realtor that you really trust.
Yeah.
Because they will open doors that you didn't even know exist.
It's true. You don't know what you don't know.
I gave up when I called you. Remember when
Yeah,
I called you? I was like, I saw one. They showed me this, and this is what they got. And you're like, hold on, Joey, let me see. Wait, I got 7 for you. We're gonna go see them all. and we end up like getting the perfect unit. I was extremely happy that.
Yeah.
So 100%. What would you see the third point?
Oh, I think it's like getting too emotionally attached to a home before you make an offer on it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's like you gotta like cool your jets, like, because it's good, but it's like I'm like, I even did this, like my old landlord called me the day before I bought my house, and he was like, Rach, you've sold enough houses, it's time to buy. And I, like, it was in the middle of COVID, it was hard to get your hands on anything, let alone I was like, I knew I had an opportunity because I was able to pick my lot, I was able to pick which way it's facing, and thank God I bought what I bought because it's southwest facing, so I bask in sunlight. Like, it's brighter than like 90% of the homes I show, which is like I absolutely love about my house. Yeah, so it's like I get like good light, which gives me like more positive energy and stuff like that. But I got caught up where, I mean, it's not in a bad way. It was the best decision I could have made at the time. But had I like really took a step back and been slowed down, I would have maybe made a different decision. But that's okay. Like, I no regrets. But like, I know a guy paid the same amount as I did, but his builder, he was married, or he had a partner, so he paid $610 for an Urbandale. I couldn't, or no, sorry, it was an HN home, and HN holds the value better than Kaivan did at the time. And it was because they like the layouts, the size, but I wouldn't have been able to get approved for that because I'm single and self-employed, and I needed 2 years tax average or something like that, taxes that I didn't have. So I would have needed a cosigner, which I could have had, but that was coming at a cost to me if I had to have the cosigner. So true. I did the 2-year out closing, and then I did my upgrades in 2022 when my house was worth, my $600,000 house was worth $800,000 in house. So I had a good time at the design center. I was like, oh, I've got $100,000 in equity. I'm gonna reinvest the equity. We're gonna go.
COVID's never gonna happen.
Idiot, but that's okay. Hindsight, eh?
But at the end of the day, real estate goes up. You know, you just gotta wait on it for a little bit. Yeah. No,
and it's still like it's probably a better investment property, and in a very it's in a very good pocket for renting. So it works out in that way. It's close to a park. It's on a good street. Like it's on a quiet street. Like it's in a good direction. Like there's all these good things about it too. And it was funny because I was selling a house the street over, and most of the time, like when you back on a park, you pay a premium. You're paying you're paying $20,000 to be backing on a park. All these people, they didn't want to be backing on the park because they knew the park was busy.
Oh my God. I actually love it. This is considered backed on the park.
Well, this is fronting on the park, so it's different.
Oh, okay. So backed in the park.
So your backyard is like backing on the park.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like sometimes. But it's
still good for the kids and stuff.
Oh, it's great. I'm like, oh my
it.
goodness, if you were running a daycare, you can go through watch.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love having the park close to me because now I'm like, okay, kids, you can go to the park. I can see you guys from the window.
Yeah, you're fine.
It makes it easier. You're fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
I grew up in a house that was backed in the park.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, and I'm coming from 6 siblings. We used to own that park.
Yeah,
that
I bet you did.
Part of our property.
No, and it's funny. Everyone's so different, and like every property is so different too. There's just so many different nuances to it. But yeah.
You talked about renting a couple of times. You're like, okay, but this is going to be good in renting. So you always have the eye to investment, which gets me to the second part of the topic of the podcast today. Is that what's your thoughts? I have a lot of friends and colleagues that love to invest in real estate. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that actually started our friendship is getting me out of a bad deal. And I was a condo guy.
Yeah.
I normally go for condos.
Yeah.
Until I tried the townhouses
Yeah.
and what's it called?
You saw the light.
Detached,
Yeah.
detached, which opened my eyes to a lot of other things, and I was like, oh my god, there's no headache of the maintenance fee going up at any time, and there's more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So I want your opinion from an investing point of view. I'm sure you deal with a lot of investors that invest in real estate. What would you say the best uh, tunnel or approach in investing in real estate?
I don't think
I know it's a
I don't
broad
think there's a
question.
one size fits all.
Yeah.
I think you have to like stick. It's like you can only be good at a certain amount of things.
True.
I mean, like you can do a lot of things, but you're not
But suck
necessarily
out the
great.
ball.
Yeah. So it's like I have one investor and he's like really good at doing like the crappy like stuff that no one wants to do, but then you're dealing with a lower caliber tenant. Like he'll fix it up, he'll make the space better. His numbers from a cash flow perspective are very much better.
Mm.
But everyone has a different approach. You can make it party house like cottage on the water, but then your cost to maintain is going to be high because you're going to be Airbnb-ing it and you're going to pay the cleaning fees. Mm. And then there's the distance to maintain it. So a lot of my investors want to invest in areas close to where they live, because the ones close to where they live, they can maintain them much easier. Like if there's a problem, it's a shorter commute. Okay. Going back to the commute. True. But it really depends. I think I know an agent who owns about 15 of the 3-story townhomes. And like they're so good because like there's so little margin for error for things going wrong. True. I've met people who invest in condos, but then they're dealing with really like if you're buying in an older condo building, sometimes your condo fees are $600 or $700. But it depends on your situation. So if you need the tax deductions of those condo fees because you're a high income earner and you're just trying to deduct, those can be great too. But it really depends on, like, I like condos if you're not a super hands-on person, if you buy in the right building that attracts a high caliber tenant. One of my favorite investors, he will only buy in areas where it's going to attract a certain type of tenant. Mm-hmm. So he goes based on, and he knows quite a bit about real estate, and that's what I've noticed is like he'll pay a higher price point for the property, but he's going to get a better rent, but he's also going to get a better tenant. So then there's less cost to him flipping the property over.
True.
So
that's a good way of looking at it. Mm-hmm. So it goes like is it targeting mainly condos?
Like that was like a townhome in a central pocket that was like it's, I mean, he's got to hang on to it for a certain reason, but it's close to, like, the location matters so much for renters, and renters are willing to pay a premium. True. And if it's in good condition, then it comes at a premium too. True. So I think it's like you have to make sure that it's not in an oversaturated area, but so that's something to consider. Or it has multiple doors. So like, or it's a bungalow that has a basement unit, so you can rent the basement unit and the upper level, but you're going to have an easier time renting the upper unit than you are the lower unit. True. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like, I would buy, if I were you, for example, I would probably buy the 3-story townhomes right now with all the it's tricky. I would buy the resale version of those 3-story townhomes is where I would be putting my money.
Resale versions over duplex, triplex.
Yeah. I think so. Because you're gonna have an easier time getting rid of that if you ever need to offload it. Because duplexes and triplexes take longer to offload.
True. I totally agree.
I like the duplexes and triplexes as long-term holds
For cash flow.
Those are great. If you can get them for a good price, fix them up over time, and have good tenants. The problem is a lot of the time those are the tenants that don't have as much money and they're more needy. And then they don't treat the property with as much integrity.
Which you're going to deal with a little bit of headache down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it just depends. And then they take longer to turn over, too, on the resale side of things.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like that point of view. Because, you know, one of the things that we kind of curved into was the whole triplex, duplex things that I was starting to look into at, you know, King Eddie in that area.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like you were not on board. Like, Rachel, like, Joey, you know, you wanted to see it, so here it is. But which you were right, because I just learned the tenant that owned that house that we actually went and saw came to my office complaining about that heart attack that he had because of the issue of the partying and the drug distribution from that area, and he's like, it's so much going on that it actually took a toll of my health. Yeah. And I was surprised it was 3 doors away from what we were looking at. And I was like, whew. So it basically saved my life on that.
Well, it was funny because the agent on that one actually called me later and she was like, you locked up everything. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember there was an issue with the lock and I was calling you and XYZ. And she was like, oh yeah. And they were like, someone thought that some computer was even stolen during that, like, oh my God. Like they thought it was during the showing that their stuff was stolen. And I'm like, there's not a chance that my client nor myself would steal something. Like, we didn't even want to touch anything in there.
True.
But that's like, crazy. I understood and appreciated your perspective where it was more about the parking than it was about the building. So it was like, I understood it from buying it for the parking, but there was heritage overlays, I think, as well. And it was just,
so there's a lot of headaches.
And like, it's just, the market, as much as I love the Byward market, it has a lot of vagrancy, I think is the word for it. Yeah.
Challenges for sure. Yeah. So my next question is that, do you think, is there a cash flow positive
rental
3-4 bedrooms?
Yeah. Like with a double car garage or something
without renting it out to multiple families?
Without renting it out to multiple families. That's the problem, is in certain pockets that you run into more often, that the multiple family members want to live in that. But I'm hearing a lot on the street like that people are like, oh, it's more financially savvy to rent than it is to buy in certain situations. And so I think there's going to be more of a demand for that. And I think you'll be able to charge a premium in certain communities.
That's good to know for sure.
Especially like if you buy one in a good school district, because it's like maybe someone's divorced and they need to stay in the school district, but they can't necessarily afford to purchase, but they can pay a high rent.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying like families is like one family renting a 4-bedroom? Because you know that's one of the things that a friend of mine is struggling with, because he has a house of 4 bedrooms in a complete basement that his family was living in, a family of 5 that needed the space, because the youngest was around 25 years old, which is filling the house. And now they're leaving and they think renting it out is going to be quite a challenge just because of the size of the house.
It depends on the house, and it depends on how much rent.
Okay. Yeah. So something like that.
And it also depends on how picky the landlord is with the tenant too.
True.
Yeah.
So jumping into where do you think, so you're saying that cash is one of the biggest restrictions for first time home buyers. Is it important that they really consider all the things that you talked about? I think it goes without saying that you have to have the right budget for you to enter the market. You have to know your numbers and be comfortable. I mean, I'm a big believer in there's two types of people. Like, some people will either rise to the occasion or some people will struggle. So it just depends. Like, you have to know yourself when you're purchasing, and you have to know what your limits are. Because like some people, like I went from
I went from paying half to paying double what I pay in a couple of years, and I was able to handle that, but not everyone would be able to handle that, like
because of interest going up.
because of the interest going up. Yeah.
So that's another consider. Do you think variable or fixed in the short term?
We just had a mortgage broker come and speak, and he's like, I think the safer play right now is like the 3 to 5 year fixed rates right now.
That's what I went with. I just
Good.
renewed the house for 5 years fixed.
Nice.
Yeah, got 3.8.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
I've been seeing 4 all over the place right now.
3.89.
That's good. That's nice.
Still a good number.
Yeah. But anything under 4 is great.
Yeah, before we get the recap from you, this is a personal question from me.
That's okay.
How do you think the best way to elevate in to 3 to 4 properties? Do you think it's better to just use the cash from the property, like refinancing properties, or going into like when it comes to overscaling? For someone that in my level right now, I'm in between two doors. Do I use my existing properties and use the refinance to refinance them? Now, is interest gonna go up? Because the refinance involves me paying more into the properties that I already have a lot of equity in.
Yeah.
Or is it better to pour in more money? But it goes into the same question of variable and fixed, right? Because the biggest challenge is a property that you're used to paying 1,800 because you had it 5 years before COVID, and now you're gonna refinance it, which is good to pull cash out of it, but your mortgage is gonna go up in rate in a time where we don't know if
there's some more uncertainty.
Yeah, so you feel like the interest is more on the fixed rate. You're saying in the mortgage.
Yeah, I would say I'm variable right now. I've been like I got my house.
Fix it up?
I'm almost there, yeah, to be honest. So, I mean, the Bank of Canada just held their rates, which is good. So it gives a little bit more certainty for the spring market right now.
True.
But I would say if you're variable, I would heavily look into being a fixed rate just to give you the added certainty.
Okay.
Right now, they say variable you win in the long run, but this is unforeseen economic circumstances. So I would say it's better to be more conservative if you can.
Yeah, best time to dip into the market for a new buyer: summer, winter, spring, or fall.
So I find the prices end up being pretty high in February, like February, March. Because people come out in January and they're setting new goals, and then they're getting ambitious and they want to move, and they want to move now, and then there's limited inventory, and so they're going to get a premium sometimes in February. And so it just depends, and then by June things start to cool down. Like July is a great time. July, like November, it's like the sleepy times when you can find more of a deal sometimes, but it depends. It's the deal has to look right more than the time. Like the time has to be right for you. I'm a big heavy believer in that. Like it's not so like you can't time the market. Like everyone's situations are constantly fluctuating. I'm waiting on sellers to finish renos. Like I'm waiting on people to make decisions all the time. Everything is constantly fluctuating.
So it doesn't peak. The market doesn't peak in the summer, right? So if you don't. So
I find it's more so in April usually, like after March break and stuff like that. In April, May, usually are like the higher trading months for real estate in history. Like I think that's regardless of the real estate market. I think that's kind of across the boards, and then sometimes it picks up again after Labor Day weekend, usually till about like mid-October, and then like Halloween it starts getting quiet again, like
Yeah.
near Christmas and
But the
stuff
peak
like
is
that.
normally after spring break, huh?
Yeah, after
Which
March.
in dentistry, our peak is in December.
Oh,
So
so
in
interesting.
December,
Oh,
we
yeah, because of
are
the year end, right?
Exactly. Year end, everybody wants to
Yeah.
come in before their insurance kicks out. So we are going crazy. In December, don't talk to me because I'm always working.
Oh my gosh,
You know?
that's so
So-
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in real estate, you're saying more of like
It's
the
like
spring
April,
break.
May. Yeah. That's usually
So we
really
got you
what
on
it
the
is.
premium too.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Last couple of questions. Who is your ideal client?
Someone with a growth mindset.
Mhm.
Someone who's willing to grow and pivot and listen, and someone who values their home, values their space, I think. But it's more so, I really respect like entrepreneurs like yourself, like who have like, you're very community minded. Like I love that. Like, and I've told lots of my friends about you because I'm like, I think it's just so cool, like that you have such a big vision. I love people with vision. I think that's who I probably resonate most with. And
Thank you.
no, I really like, I get so excited to help like get to the next phase. Like I'm like, I want to understand it. I want to be totally immersed. Like, where is your life taking you? How can I help support you? But like, I also just like, I would say almost like 60% of my clients are entrepreneurs, probably,
Which
is
great.
pretty cool. Yeah,
That's
I'm
true.
pretty lucky in that regard.
Yeah, and how can people reach out to you? I'm sure a lot of people from the listeners
Yeah.
are like, we want Rachel to be our realtor. So what's the best way for them to reach you?
DMs, or you can text or call me at 613-297-5342. Or email me. Yeah, I guess, but email is almost
and what's your first and last name, just for the listeners to
I'm Rachel Herndorf, and I work for Angle Invokers. You can also find me on the Angle Invokers website if you want.
There you go. And don't take much of our time because we still need to close some deals. So still working on the beach house.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rachel,
My
for
pleasure.
coming out and for your precious time and coming out, and for the listeners to hear all this valuable information. You opened my eyes a lot about a lot of things.
Oh, good. I'm so happy to hear.
And
No,
I've been in the real estate business for over 15 years.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and my family's been, buying real estate since, but it's a lot of very valuable information that
I'm happy to hear.
I want to put in perspective for my next moves. Thank you so much.
Lot. My pleasure.
Any last words you want to add?
No, thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.